Hola amigos, this is Level 12 and today we are going to be talking about Tomie and why it isn't as bad as you think and you guys are just being mean, like from that meme. Anyway, so I recently learned that Tomie got an anime adaptation, and as someone who paid roughly $40 for the complete collection of the manga, I was excited to watch it, but I knew that a lot of Junji Ito stuff, it when it gets made into other media, it is usually trash. So I had prepared myself for some trash. I didn't really have that high of expectations for Tomie, which might contribute as to why I think it was so good, but then I see the reviews of Tomie and I'm just like, that's not how that works. So something really quick was only about 2 to 3 of the chapters of Tomie were made into actual episodes. And the thing is, I think these people are comparing the entire manga to that one specific episode, but even Junji Ito writes it as its own separate little stories. Like, the only thing all the stories have in common is Tomie herself, so that's bad on them, because Junji Ito didn't even write the book to be read in such a linear passage. The only thing you need to know is the first chapter, and then you can read any other chapter you want, because it really doesn't matter. But Tomie, the anime wasn't perfect. It has a score of 6.06 on my anime list, and I gave it a 6, which is usually my average score for shows, 6 or 7, because it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like some great gift from the gods. Some issues with Tomie as a whole, the two to three episodes that there's only 10 minutes per episode, which constrains a lot of things, but I also feel like Junji Ito kind of writes and draws a lot, so it cut out some of that unneeded fluff, I guess. But the amount of censoring, there was some god awful censoring. I don't even we will get into the censoring. It condensed a lot of the dialogue, which I after watching it for a few times, because I had to watch it a couple times to pick up everything I wanted to talk about, it didn't really condense that much dialogue, it just cut out a lot of dialogue. So I wouldn't necessarily say condense in a bad way, but some people can take it that way. Junji Ito's work has a habit of not being made as well as from the source material. As we know, Junji Ito's collection was a dumpster fire of what not to do. Oh, Junji Ito. He's such a good horror mangakin, and yet his work never gets transferred anyway good into any other material. Because Tomie was live action at one point. That was also terrible. Junji Ito's original Tomie is a collection of short stories with the only connection between them being Tomie herself and sometimes the teacher. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. Yeah, I didn't really like how the teacher was there and the teacher wasn't there, and I didn't really like that. So also, Junji Ito isn't some god horror writer. Jeez. I feel like everyone treats him like a god of a horror writer, but Tomie, the original thing, some stories didn't really make sense or whatever, but I'm not here for that. I'm just here to say that the anime isn't as bad as you think, and I'm going to get into the good and the bad of the anime, because it wasn't stellar, it wasn't spectacular, but it wasn't like the dumpster fire people are making it out to be. So I'm going to just briefly talk about this slide because I have other slides explaining it. Also, I have pictures directly from the manga that I took with my phone, so some pictures are going to look a little weird, but that's okay. It got the basic premise of the story, which is good, because some anime adaptations don't even do that. It cut out a lot of useless dialogue, or not a lot, but most of the useless dialogue. It was just fabulous. The anime didn't have all that gross stuff. And in my opinion, it had better art than Junji Ito, because the art just set the tone for everything. It was dark, it was perfect, it was cool, it was, I loved it so much. You'll get to see some of the art in a second. It had foreshadowing, the glorious foreshadowing, which Junji Ito's work did not have, and I got confused when reading it. Trust me, I had to read some of the stories over and over again to understand what was happening, because it was chaos. A lot of chaos with the original Tomie. So the bad was the censoring and all the gore. Junji Ito doesn't really do... Well, he does do gore, because I've seen some of his other work, but Tomie was not meant to be as much gore as the anime put it. At least not in the first story. Yes, it had some gore, but it censored itself really uniquely with the text bubbles. But not everything was so god-awful. And it wasn't really that scary. Tomie, the book, was scary, but the anime wasn't that scary, and it had some really bad voice acting. Everyone but Reiko, Tomie, and some bits of the teacher just had flat acting. It wasn't even the acting, it was just the writing. Like, how do you deliver these lines in this scenario? Like, that's just a me thing, but, you know. Because, like, the way you deliver some of these lines is just... no normal person would say this, so how do you deliver them? It wasn't even like bad voice acting, it was bad writing. It was almost word for word from what Junji Ito wrote, so I don't really think it's fair to say it was bad voice acting. It was just, how does any normal human deliver these lines? It's like, yes, I am human. No, nah. Just, really, really awkward dialogue in some of these parts, and I can understand that, but still... Don't take a role you know has really awkward dialogue. So here we get into some of that useless dialogue that I was talking about. Which, you know, it's great when you have to sit through a bunch of useless dialogue just to progress the story. I love doing that. I'm kidding. Anyway, so we have this scene where the students are talking to the investigators, which... At the time the story is set, the investigation should have been over or whatever, and then it just shows this, because, like, it goes from her funeral to this, and I'm like, do investigators ask questions during funerals? Like, I've never seen that happen in real life, or whatever. And then we have this picture where, these two boys are walking and they see Tomie, and they're like, yeah, that's the zombie chick, and... this guy's like, yes, I'd still date her. And then the other guy's like, dude, that's necrophilia. That's illegal. And I'm like, okay, so Tomie isn't a... Because if they had kept this in, people would have gone on thinking Tomie was a zombie. But she's more like an evil spirit that doesn't go away. And I'm glad they cut that out. Because for how short it was and how little it explained the story, and since it wasn't its own anime, it was like kind of a short in the Junji Ito collection, I'm kind of glad they took it out, because, you know, some people would have been confused. Here's some more useless dialogue, like, this guy right here, right? He's the teacher. What teacher is like, hey, you want to come join us? And he's like, nah, I gotta smoke. Is that a normal thing that happens in Japanese high schools? You're just like, yes, teacher, come supervise us, do your job. And the teacher's like, nah, I gotta smoke. And I'm just like, okay. It was just, I mean, like, it's not useless, it's just awkward because it sets up that he's not part of the students. But when you have a bunch of high schoolers, again, you don't really need to supervise them, you just need to be in the general area. But so it's kind of understood that the teacher isn't gonna, like, be there, but you don't have to stay. Yeah, I'm gonna smoke. Whatever. And then you have this scene where the girl is just, like, bad-mouthing Tomie, and Tomie's right there, like, this... Like, I know that perspectively, again, it like, doesn't look that far away, but, like, what the heck? The girl, Tomie, can hear you. No one bad talks someone that's, like, right above them. Like, that's why the teacher's there, because he can keep an eye on them, but from the safety of his little perch. It was just... it was stupid. Junji Ito needs to learn what editing is and take out some of this useless crap. Anyways. So, better art. So... You know, art is subjective, and you can tell me, but Junji Ito's art style, yada yada yada. Yes, I know his art style, and I know it's like the old 80s, 90s kind of looking stuff, but I just feel like for the time, it like had a better art and lighting and stuff, and I know it kind of looks like Another, but Another was a horror anime, and, like, I'm getting sick of horror anime that look like they should be for, like, children, like Higurashi and stuff like that. I'm getting, like, sick of that. I'm getting sick because it's shock value now, and it's so gross. I'm like, Tomie went back to these darker, more tonal colors. Like, I'm currently watching another horror series, and, like, some of the stories are dark, some of them are, like, bright, JoJo Bizarre Adventure looking stuff, and, like, that's fine and stuff, but, like, I'm getting a little sick because it doesn't set the mood as well as this dark overtone. Like, it's good for shock value, but whatever. Also, like, look at this. This is the weirdest stance I've ever seen anyone be in ever. It's the shapes and everything just looks so weird here. It looks so much more natural to do this. It, like, cause, like, he was standing like this the entire time he was talking. No teacher stands like that with their, I mean, it creates a dynamic pose, sure, but like that can't be a comfortable stance to be standing in. Like he didn't go what? He didn't like push himself back from the desk when Tomie came in. He just like stared at her like, ugh, this is such a weird pose to put someone in. No one stands like this, because he was talking for a while. No one stands like that if they're talking for a while. This is more natural. Like, look at the lighting. I mean, I know you can't get that effect in a manga, but still, people were saying the art was choppy. It's really not. Like, for what it was fine. Y'all are just like putting Tomie on such a high pedestal that it doesn't deserve to be on. Like, it was an OVA. Like, wait, what can you expect from an OVA? Like, if it's an OVA for a reason, not because it's like the best thing in the world. Jeez. And now we're going to talk about some foreshadowing. There's 2 points of these foreshadowings I'm going to skip to because they were just something about foreshadowing I love is that foreshadowing is just, it like gives you that little hint, and the Tomie manga didn't do as much foreshadowing, and it kind of threw me off, but this foreshadowing sets you up like, ooh, what's gonna happen? Ooh. Shoot, foreshadowing, man, it's a glorious thing. Learn how to use it. It'll help you in your writing. There we go. Look at that foreshadowing. Go away. Look at that foreshadowing. Fabulous, right? There's another point where the foreshadowing's really on point here. Yeah. Look at that foreshadowing. Isn't that some good foreshadowing? See? And now it's perfect. See? The original Tomie manga didn't do... Oh, stop doing that. The original manga for Tomie didn't do that. It was like... Ugh. It didn't do that. And it made me sad. But whatever. Don't foreshadow manga. Because, you know, maybe foreshadowing just isn't your thing. But I like the foreshadowing. I like... Because, like, if you don't know what Tomie is, that foreshadowing is going to make you want to continue to watch. Because, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of a slow burn till you get to that... Well, I won't even say the good part because they, like, censored it so much. But until you get to those parts, you're not going to want to continue to watch it. But that foreshadowing, man, that makes you want to see what they was cutting up. You know? I know what I'm doing. I totally know what I'm doing. Anyway, so... I wish the original Tomie manga had that type of foreshadowing, which just kind of thrust upon you. Which is fine, but, you know... Foreshadowing. That's good, too. So now we're getting into the bad of the Tomie anime, at least episode 1. I'm not really going to talk about episode 2 because I'd just be repeating myself, but I do have one slide about episode 2, but whatever. Back to the censoring and overuse of gore. The first chapter of Tomie, I say, is one of the goriest because they are cutting her up, and the other ones are just Tomie regenerating herself, which isn't that gross. Because it's literally it's like you're looking at a burn victim as she's regenerating, but like this one was full on like cutting someone up and whatever, and like if they knew they were gonna have to censor this, why would they put it in there when you just have these black bars going everywhere? And I mean, as you can see in the text box, it is like not censoring about that much, but it is censoring most of it, and then like here. You see this big black bar, like he's just holding something up. Like sometimes the shadow stuff can work, not often, but sometimes it can. But this scene, like, what's the point of even having it? Like, there was this one point, I didn't include it, but there was this one point, and so you know she has no clothes on when they're cutting her up, right? And they do a full like torso scan, and you just see this one tiny little line like censoring her chest, and it was the funniest thing ever. Like if you can ever find and watch this, it's just the funniest thing ever. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious how they censor some of this, and it kind of does lead to some accidental comedy which turns people away from horror, which I can understand. I don't like horror comedies either, but just if it wasn't for the censoring, like this one wouldn't be as bad as some people say, because a bunch of people just don't like it for the censoring, which isn't the anime's fault. It's the people who like put it on TV, because like sometimes you can find versions without the censoring. It's not the anime's fault of the censoring. It's the anime's fault for including it, but not the anime's fault for how it gets censored. You know, but whatever. And so here's some more of this overuse of the censoring. In my opinion, this was the goriest part of that first chapter that they adapted. And, you know, it wasn't even that bad. Like, I mean, I guess I can kind of see what they would have to censor here, but, like, it wasn't that bad. But then we get to this scene. I don't even know what they're doing. Like, I know this here is Tomie, and this has to be some part of her body, like, inside of her. I believe this is actually the same, this scene and this scene, they're the same scene. But, like, what is it? You don't even know what's going on here. Like, even with the context, I didn't fully understand what was going on here. Like, it's weird. It's gross. Ugh. If they... Again, it's not their fault for how it's censored, but if they knew it was going to be censored, why even include this? Like, why? You're just saying yourself for having a bad anime due to censoring. And that's such a stupid reason as well to, like, have a bad anime because you have to censor so much. It's gross. And here's some more examples of censoring. Literally half the screen was censored. I cut off some of it, but half the screen censored. It's stupid. And this one, literally, there was no... I can tell you how this scene would have looked. There was no blood, there was no tendons, there was no muscle. It was... Well, there was blood. There was no, like, muscle, bone, tendons, stuff like that. It was literally just blood leaking as he was cutting off her leg. Nothing major that they had to censor. You know, per usual, over censoring. The bad voice acting, I have 2 timestamps labeled, but I'm only gonna show one of them, just to save on time, and it was a better timestamp, so let me find it. What was it, 5:19? There we go. Like, what the heck? Tomie just fell. She legit just fell from the thing, and that was Yamamoto, and he was like, oh, we should call an ambulance. And then his teacher's like, wait, don't ruin your life for her. And then everyone's like, yeah. Like, how normal is that? I really should have just labeled it bad writing. Like, it wasn't even bad voice acting. It was super bad writing and awkward, like, dialogue. Like, no one would say that, but, like, they did say it. They kind of fixed that in episode 2, kind of, not really, but that was so awkward and weird. Like, how on earth do you get away with doing that? Like, what the heck is wrong with you? It was weird. Like, I'm not the only one who thinks that was, like, some weird timing, right? Like, for them to say that, no normal human would say that. You're all nodding your head yes, I'm assuming. Yeah. So this was another thing I was a little bit meh about. There was this scene, they cut her up into 42 pieces because there was 42 students, and in the manga it reads, since I was her only real friend, they gave me her heart. That's such a telling moment and such a beautiful moment. It's so great. But the anime didn't include that. You don't know what part she's dropping into the river. She just has like this bundled, bloodied thing and she drops it into the river. They didn't include that, but I will say they did mirror one part almost exactly as Junji Ito wrote it, which doesn't fully make up for leaving out this super important part that should not have been left out. But, you know, they only had it was 10 minutes, but they did nail this other part, like, right to the T. It was great. But it does make up for like, not including this, though. 308, I believe. There we go. That's like almost mirroring that is as close as you can get it to what Junji Ito wrote, which is just amazing. I love, they even drew her face so perfectly to how it was in the manga. If you can read the Tomie manga, I definitely would like compare that scene to the scene in the manga. It's just, they nailed it so well, but it doesn't make up for the fact they didn't include this part. Like, I'm still salty they didn't include this part, because it's such a telling part for what we know about Tomie and Reiko's relationship. Real quick on the end here, I know I mostly talked about episode 1, but episode 2 did have, it was a little bit better, the voice acting was better, but it had this weird transition scene where, Tomie just lies and lies about, this guy's, actual girlfriend. He's cheating on his girlfriend with Tomie, and Tomie just lies and lies about his girlfriend, and he's like, oh my gosh, you're such a liar. And then, like, in the anime, right after he says that, she gets up and leave, and he's like, no, wait, come back. And in the manga, they do that, and then Tomie goes over to a window, and she's like, can I have these earrings? And then he's like, I can't afford them. And then she's like, well, I'll go find a rich man that can. Bye-bye. And then he's like, hey, Reiko. And it makes more sense for him to be like, hey, Reiko, after that moment, because he's afraid some other man is going to take his girl. But in the anime, it played out like, she's such a liar. And then when she gets up and leaves, he's like, hey, no, wait, I know you lie, but I still love you. And it's stupid. So I'm going to play that clip from the anime. There.
なんでそんな嘘をつく。お前の話は嘘ばかりだな。ユキがそんな人間じゃないってことくらい分かってるんだ。何よ。私が嘘つきだとでも言うの。もういいわ。バイバイ。レコ。
You see how weird that was? Like, no normal human is like, you liar, you're terrible, and then's like, hey, no, wait, continue to lie to me. No one's like that. And then see, in the anime, I cut it off, but like, up here, like, that entire scene happened, and then she goes over here, and she's like, those earrings are really pretty. Can you afford them? And he's like, again, because, like, she's been spending his money and stuff, and then she's like, fine then, I'll go ask a rich man. Bye-bye. And, like, it makes more sense for him to be like, hey, Reiko, after that moment, because he's, like, worried some other guy's gonna take his girlfriend. It's just, it flows better in this sense, but, again, they had a time strain, budget, all that, so, but it's still, I would have included this scene, because it flows better, it makes more sense, but, whatever. Also, there was this, I didn't show it, and I don't really want to show it, but there was a scene where the girl, also it says, I know it says Reiko, but she's going by a different name. There was this one scene where the girl threw her teddy bear at a mirror, and the mirror just shattered, like, okay then, okay, alright then, I'll roll with it, but anyways, so, that's it. Tomie isn't as bad as people say. I mean, it's not some gift or anything. It's not like the greatest anime ever, but it's also not like the dumpster fire people are giving it a score for. Like, some people are giving it like 2s and 3s, and I'm like, that Tomie doesn't deserve that low of a score. Like, again, it deserves like a 5 or 6, and if like you can find the version that isn't censored, then I definitely would give it a 7, just for the gore factor, even though it didn't, again, it didn't need to be as gory as it was if it knew it was going to get censored like that, but whatever. You'll find different versions depending on how you watch it. But, yeah, for those of you that haven't seen Tomie and don't know much about it, I know I've already, like, discussed a lot of the plot already, but, like, I would definitely go out and watch it. I believe Crunchyroll has it, so you can go watch it there. But, yeah, just give Tomie a chance. It's not as bad as people say. Anyways, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more anime and otaku related content. Ciao, chicos!